Welcome to the Warley Model Railway Club virtual event, featuring club life, the exhibition and the exhibitors. We hope you enjoy this presentation.
Hello and welcome to our presentation about the Scale 4 Society for the Warley Virtual Show 2020. The purpose of our presentation is to give you a taste of 4mm fine scale modelling, to tell you about what is involved in moving to P4 and how the Scale 4 Society can help. Here we have a fine model in P4 of Mr. Drummond's car by Bernard Baker. But it isn't just about making superb model locos. What follows is a snippet from a video presenting the Farringdon layout operated in a prototypical manner. The full video can be viewed on the Scale 4 website as part of the Scale Forum 2020. Sit back and soak up the atmosphere for a minute.
An off-duty porter tends the vegetables in a station allotment, and the dust on the coaling stage swirls and eddies in a gentle breeze that sways the nettles that grow in the shelter of the platelayer's hut and the rosebay willow herb that lines the path that crosses the line to the public allotments. From the crossing, the bell in the signal box can be heard distantly, and then the rattle of the wires signals the approach of the next train. A few minutes later, the afternoon goods drifts into the station. The engine uncouples and then coasts gently down to the stop blocks, ready to run round.
The Scale 4 Society encompasses the overall concept of fine-scale railway modelling. Models are built as closely to true scale dimensions as is practical, and operated as authentically as possible, creating the illusion of a real railway. Our purpose is to inspire and meet the needs of 4mm fine-scale modellers. We support the advancement of modelling techniques, provide information of interest, develop the available component range, and in some cases manufacture and sell these components. Why choose P4? This presentation is not to attempt to persuade anyone to change who, for whatever reasons, is not interested in moving to P4. Rather, our intention is to highlight the factors to consider should you be interested in making the move, and to suggest how best to get started. As part of the Warley Virtual Show, we are running a virtual stand meeting on Zoom, where you can talk to Society members about what we do, discuss particular points of interest, and hopefully be encouraged to join. The meetings will be run on both Saturday and Sunday at these times. If you email to the address shown here, then a link to the Zoom meeting will be sent to you. warleyshow@scale4.org. To illustrate the broad range of interests represented in the Society, we have brought together some examples of layouts that have been shown at our various exhibitions in the past, or written about in our magazine Scale 4 News. Starting with a layout representing early railways. Dorchester Junction depicts both GWR broad gauge and LSWR standard gauge in 1867, all built to P4 standards. The layout runs stock from both companies. The broad gauge stock is largely scratch built, and the LSWR stock is a mixture of scratch built or based on kits from the Southwestern Circle. Signalling at the time was by disc and crossbar signals, using time interval working. Burnt Island, set in 1883, representing the northern end of the Forth Ferry crossing, providing links to the east coast of Scotland from Edinburgh. The layout depicts the passenger and train ferries used before the construction of the Forth Bridge and the supporting railway infrastructure required to deliver the service, including a large roundhouse with CCTV to monitor what is going on inside. This is Pulborough, an LBSCR junction station set in 1910, the height of Edwardian elegance. With services to London, the South Coast, Petworth and Midhurst. The station is decorated with adverts appropriate for the era and figures painted in Edwardian dress. Moving forward to the 1930s, we have Lower Rose goods. The purpose of this layout, built by Steve Howe, was to develop a shunting plank to test coupling systems. The result is a scenically superb model representing GWR Cornish Mineral Railway practice, with some real attention to detail. Many members model early BR period. Here is a Saffron Street layout located on the Middlesex Junction Railway, a fictitious cross-London line modelled around how it appeared in 1964. And finally, Brunswick Yard by Pete Denyon depicts a fictional location in the Midlands and is set around 2020 to present day. This layout is an excellent example of what can be achieved in a display area of only 6 foot by 1 foot. Plenty of detail. Now let's consider what's involved in moving to P4. First, a little background as to the terminology used. Proto-4, abbreviated to P4, is the published standard for track and wheels. In a modelling context, S4 refers to the use of tighter construction tolerances than the P4 standard, used by some members. Of course, S4 is also used as an abbreviation for Scale 4 when discussing the matters of the Society, its members and their modelling. The P4 wheel and track standards replicates the prototype as closely as possible, within the limits of manufacturing tolerances. Here is the table showing the key dimensions for various prototype gauges. As with other wheel and track standards, there is no need to measure dimensions to a fraction of a millimetre. Track gauges for the various gauges are readily available. For example, the Ardoyle layout, set in Ireland, has both 5'3" gauge and 3'6" gauge. Track can be made from individual components, sleepers, chairs and rails, or for plain line, bought as moulded track bases with rails inserted. Various types are available for both bullhead and flat bottom, timber or concrete sleepers. On curving track, as the radius gets smaller, the rails have to be moved apart slightly to stop the wheels pinching, called gauge widening. This is replicated in P4 by using track gauges such as these from C&L or a triangular gauge. The Templot software is commonly used for layout of track geometry and detailed design. These images are from a forum post by a novice as a first design for P4 track work. Point and crossing work will, however, have to be hand-built, although recent developments in P4 modelling have effectively reduced the work involved to the equivalent of assembling a plastic kit. Here we have an example of one of the Society's track templates with a selection of moulded components from C&L Finescale. The choice here is individual components, with some of the rails already pre-formed for switchblades and crossing Vs. Components are available for additional track detailing from a number of manufacturers, covering such items as dummy point rodding and operating cranks, facing point locks, conductor rail supports, and so on. The photo shows a point motor and detection, with all rods and cranks faithfully modelled. It is a myth that all rolling stock must have suspension. A rigid chassis will work well, if your track is laid accurately and your baseboards are rigid and stable. However, some form of suspension will mitigate the effect of inaccuracies in construction and will ensure that all wheels are utilised for current collection and remain in contact with the track at all times, thus improving ride quality and reliability. A test track with built-in faults will soon show any problems. This one, made by Julian Roberts, has localised bumps introduced with 0.5mm shims. Wheel profiles are taken care of by specialist manufacturers working to P4 standards. The back-to-back dimensions are set using a gauge. Whilst there are a few RTR offerings in P4, most models will require conversion, and kits are available for both steam and diesel. Here we have the conversion of a Bachmann Class 25 by Mike Ainsworth. A wealth of kits are available which can accommodate P4 standards. Here is the etch for a Judith Edge kit for a Stania 3P. The model build was undertaken by Peter Tarver and is described on our forum. Alternatively, there is a good supply of components available for the scratch builder. For RTR wagons, you can simply replace the wheel set. This commonly works, especially if you have well-laid track. If you do find you suffer from derailments, then consider compensation. There are many off-the-shelf products available to do this. Always remember to add a little weight. If wishing to represent a particular prototype, then scratch building may be the way forward. Here is a very fine example of an open wagon shown at Scale Forum 2019. For RTR coach bogies, simply swap the wheel sets. Again, commonly works, although the brakes may need to be moved out to clear the wheels. Additional clearance to the wheel under the sole bars may also be required. For kits and scratch build, use compensation or springing. Allow enough movement to cope with local dips and bumps in the track, e.g. a dipped rail joint, as well as the overall vehicle twist if cant is applied to curved track. For RTR locos, 1 or 2 manufacturers have P4 products available, particularly diesels. Some manufacturers offer replacement wheel sets for RTR products. For locos with a relatively short wheelbase, a rigid chassis will be fine. Here is a conversion underway for a B2 Peckett by Bernie Baker. For anything bigger, some form of suspension will be needed. In this example, there are compensation beams just on the inside of the frames resting on the axle boxes. Plenty of articles are available in the Society magazine about how to do this, or use the online forum when a little extra help is needed. This particular chassis was made for a GWR 39XX, scratch built by Peter Sutherland. The key element of layout operation is signalling. Functioning signalling, which operates in a prototypical manner to control train movements, adds greatly to the story being told. Some members go to great lengths to create working replicas of systems with mechanical interlocking. Others choose to use a computer to mimic the interlocking. And for the more ambitious? Some club layouts have extensive timetables and operate the trains in accordance with the practices of the railway in their chosen era. Here we have an example from the Southwark Bridge layout, showing the 11:23 to Exeter as it ran in 1912, calling at most stations and taking 6 hours to get there. On our website, we have extensive information available about infrastructure and typical examples of civil engineering structures, such as this. Using this information and site-specific photos, it is possible to create highly realistic models. Some modelers prefer to focus on buildings. Here we have Alpha Mills from the Slattox Junction layout of the Manchester Area Group, or Birmingham Moor Street Station. The buildings on the layout are suited to operations either in the transition period between steam and diesel traction or in the British Rail corporate era of the late 1970s and early 80s. Whatever you choose to do, it should run well and be executed with care, whilst following prototypical operations correct for the chosen period. Here is an example on Southwark Bridge layout of the 11:23 arrival of the Kingston roundabout. When starting out with P4, a good place to get support is at our live events, such as our shows, or for today's event, on our virtual stand. Alternatively, you can go online to the Scale 4 forum. Many topics are covered, including baseboard construction and track building, signalling, locos, scenery and control systems. You can use the forum to discuss your ideas for a layout, real or fictitious locations, subject matter, space, operations, be it serious or simply for entertainment. This delight is from the Melange to Castlebrook layout by Mike Sharman. What era should you choose? Popular P4 layouts range from the contemporary scene to steam age nostalgia. Here is Southwater Junction by Angus McIntosh. The layout is set in the last quarter of the 20th century, running stock currently in use in this part of Sussex. You may come across a thread such as this, about converting and upgrading an Airfix 48XX. It describes adding handrails to the body, something everyone has probably done, but this seemed a very good method. Always something to learn. Start with a micrometer, no need to turn it on. Measure the length of handrail required direct from the model and tighten the locking nut. and transfer the dimensions to a Bill Bedford bending jig. Use the micrometer to find the appropriate holes. From there, it is easy to bend up the correct shape of handrail and of course to make them consistent for both sides of the model. Find a piece of plastic strip with an appropriate thickness to make a depth spacer for the various parts. Fix in position with your favourite glue. And the finished result, a very informative and helpful post by Paul Willis. Topics like this can be viewed even if you are not a member of the Society. If you wish to contribute, then you will need to join. The forum is a great place to pick up hints and tips about how other modelers work. We also have a network of area groups spread all over the UK, as well as groups in Canada, the Netherlands and Australia. New members to these groups are always welcome, and contact details can be found on our website. Here we have the East of Scotland group supporting the Burnt Island layout at Alexandra Palace in 2019. Normally the Society is directly involved in running or having significant input into 3 shows each year. Scale 4 North in April, Scale 4 Southwest, which is organised as part of the Rail Wells show by the Wells Railway Fraternity in August, and Scale Forum in September is our national show. In addition to this, P4 layouts are often included in other national and local model railway shows. Over the years, various competitions have been run for best loco, coach, etc., as well as for whole layouts. This example of a Duke dog built from a Finney kit by Graham Thompson won the Model Railway Journal Chalice at our last physical scale forum in 2019. The competitions have produced some stunning models, and in the case of the 1883 challenge, spawned a number of layouts. This challenge required modelers to build a P4 layout within a footprint of 18.83 square feet to demonstrate that something interesting could be built within a relatively limited space. The winner was Burnt Island, which has subsequently been significantly expanded to what we see today. Let's look at a few more entries. Cumgor by Andy McMillan. The layout is set in the 1920s and 30s, representing a fictitious ex-Cambrian branch, now part of the Great Western. Knutsford East Junction by the Crewe Area Group, and might have been part of the Cheshire Lines Committee system. And Coldfair Green, built by the Norfolk and Suffolk Area Group, is an entirely fictitious country terminal station based in East Anglia between 1920 and 1960. Our journal, Scale 4 News, is published to members 5 times a year. Each issue has around 40 pages of quality modelling content in full colour. We also have available to members books and information sheets relating to topics such as the St Mirren layout or technical digests for modelling details. All of this can be found online, much of it in the public domain. Why not take a look? Membership of the Society gives access to Scale 4 stores that provide a wide variety of components required for track construction, track detailing, gauges and jigs, turnout operation, wagon and coach wheels, vehicle components, and signal lever frames. We also have an extensive list of suppliers on our website, organised by category, to make it easy for you to find what you need. We are always grateful for their support at our shows, and here is a selection from Scale Forum. Dart Castings, London Road Models, and C&L Fine Scale, amongst many others. And now over to our membership secretary.
Welcome. I'm Steve Carter, the Membership Secretary of the Scale 4 Society. Thank you for your interest today, and I hope you are finding lots of things to learn from and inspire your modelling. You may already be a member, or perhaps you are considering joining our friendly and helpful society. If you are thinking about joining us, then now is a good time. Joining at Virtual Warley means you won't have to renew until March 2022. That's 15 months membership for the normal 12-month rate. Go to www.scale4.org and click on the Join Us link. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, then please feel free to drop an email to memsec@scale4.org
and I will do my best to help. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care, stay safe, and happy modelling.
A reminder, we're running the virtual stand today at these times. If you email to the address shown here, then a link to the Zoom meeting will be sent to you. warleyshow@scale4.org. Thank you for watching our presentation about the Scale 4 Society, and we hope you found it of interest.
Thank you for watching this Warley virtual event presentation. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. We hope to see you when we are back at the NEC on the 27th and 28th of November 2021.